Mickey Mouse.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino. Are we live on YouTube? Can you hear my voice?
Are you ready?
Are we up and running? Let me know. Run to the chat. I need to see some faces or some names in the chat. Finally restarted. It's working. There we go. My bad, y'all. I have no idea. Haunted Horse, back me up here, man. This system sometimes, Haunted Horse runs the same system. It is very, very frustrating. And you know who has to deal with it? This guy right here. This guy. Thanks for being patient with me. Unbelievable that it did that. Why? Technology, man. So how much of the show did you hear? Did you not hear? Where were we at? I mean, we really didn't get into much. Perfect. Finchie's in the house. Thank you guys for getting in here and being patient with us. Man, I swear this system, I've got a grievance with this system. But anyways, we're up, we're running. Most importantly, Jerry Reynolds, 4 o'clock with us here on the channel. Looking forward to talking to him about a lot of stuff NBA related. You've got the return of the finals or the conference finals tonight, the Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Which way you going there? It doesn't cause an issue using OBS. But yes, the Restream Studio is bugged. It's got some problems. It does. No, Peter, you know, that's one thing that I said. I have a carryover grievance. I have to keep myself accountable to all of you. If I don't keep myself accountable, then I'm not being a good person.
The airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about it.
It has nothing to do with the software. I will hold the software grievance over till next week. I should have aired this yesterday, and I didn't. And if you're with your kids, this would be a really good time to have them tune into the show. I think they could really pick something up, really important life lesson here. You just don't do it. You see like all these different things, Dare and, you know, different programs to keep kids on the right track, right? Well, that's kind of what my grievance is about. Don't do what I did. And here's what I did the other night. I gave in. Yeah, I gave in. The place had been calling my name for like a month. Drove by it a few times. Where I charge my car is very near to a location that sells those. Kids, do not pick up the Krispy Kreme habit. It's not worth it. The first donut, it tastes great. And then after that, you are chasing and you are chasing. And before you know it, you have gone through 6 of those rings. Those things go quick. That is one of those things that you should never try in life. Stay the heck away from it. Not only is it a terrible habit that is awful for you health-wise, it is an expensive habit. Do not end up like me going after 6 Krispy Kreme donuts at 9 p.m. at night. Don't do it. So I'm holding myself accountable. Kids, this is a PSA. The more you know. Parents, keep your kids away from those things. You don't want to end up like me. You don't want to do it. Because once you get to that last donut, it's just not worth it. It is not worth it. But damn, are they good. Have you seen how expensive those things are these days, too? Come on, Ryan. You know mom and pop donut shops are better. Okay, here's something that I will go to battle for with donuts. Store-bought donuts, there is a significant difference between store-bought and mom and pops shop bought. They're just completely different. Stores never get donuts right the same way that a donut shop gets them right. Maybe it's the way they're cooking them, maybe it's the equipment. They just don't do it right. But okay, I do think there are mom and pops places that are good when it comes to the donut game. But have you seen how much some of these places are charging for donuts? Like, there was one place that we used to take Liam every once in a while. Like, a donut in our house is considered dessert. So if he gets a donut in the morning, it's not getting eaten until after dinner. But they would always throw in that extra donut hole. Now, they ain't throwing in that extra donut hole. So there's just something, though, you got to say, if you're with me here, there is something about Krispy Kreme that's just different. It just is. I know, right? I had to keep myself accountable to all of
Airing
you.
of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're gonna hear about it.
It's like winning the first bet. Oh man, Ettermans. I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of those. I am not. In the 1970s, Sacramento, it's all about Winchell's. Yeah, Winchell's Donuts. My grandpa used to take me to Mr. Perry's. Y'all remember Mr. Perry's? I believe there's one on Mac, and I believe both of them were on Mac. There's original Perry's and then Mr. Berry's. Wonder if they are both still around. So Kenny finally getting us back to basketball. If the Kings stayed together with Fox and got the 7th seed instead of the Warriors, do you think the Kings beat Houston in the first round? No, I don't. I do not think the Kings beat Houston in the first round. See, now we're going donuts. Rockland Donuts and Cinnamon. They give you free donut holes. 2 golden donuts. Look at these donut shops getting some free run here on the channel. There is a donut place here in Elk Grove that has this thing called what is it called? It's one of the Middle Eastern countries, something chocolate. Dubai chocolate. Dubai chocolate. That's what it is. They have different Dubai chocolate donuts and Dubai chocolate with strawberries. Yeah, who let the dogs out? I know. I need to take that down because I know one of you is going to make a bad decision and go hit up Krispy Kreme. Don't do it. Don't do it. You know what I was thinking, by the way? This was my thought process. I'm thinking like old school nostalgia. You remember when Krispy Kreme first came to Sacramento? There was one on Arden, there's one on Florin, right? And when you would go in there, you'd get to walk down the line, right? You'd see the donuts being made, you'd see all the frosting coming down on those perfect little rings. And every once in a while, one of the employees would take the chopsticks. They'd hand you over one of the fresh ones right off the conveyor. Like, that was the type of nostalgia that was going through my mind. I'm like, oh man, like I gotta go check it out one more time, man. That machine wasn't up and running. It felt like these donuts are being shipped in from somewhere else, and the price of them, oh my gosh. How much do you think 6 donuts cost from Krispy Kreme? Any guesses there? Any guesses by the old Dimple Records? Yeah. So anyways, let's get back to sports. A lot going on in the realm of sports to a degree. We got the NBA back tonight. Jerry coming up at 4. A lot of things that I want to talk to him about, especially the entire conversation that I ended on yesterday about the Kings playing out of position. And if the Kings could get their guys playing in their natural positions, does that maybe change what we already have? Is that a way to transform what we are stuck with? Zach LaVine, not going anywhere. So we're going to get his thoughts on that. $8.99. Are you kidding me? You can't get a donut hole for $8.99 at Krispy Kreme. And by the way, I looked online before I went. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm willing to pay that price. I get to the store. They're like, you ever seen Meet the Parents, where Ben Stiller goes to the liquor store and he's like, I need the nicest bottle of champagne that you have. We've got Mums. Okay, well, can you give me just the best thing you have? I could give you a bunch of Mums. Like, that's what it was at Krispy Kreme. I'm like, can I get the 4-pack, please? They're like, we don't have a 4-pack. You could buy 4 individually. Dude. So, Furious, you want to hear something crazy about that day? I don't know much about the specifics of that situation, but check this out. My mom worked there. In fact, my mom, I believe, was scheduled to work that day at Farrell's. And she either got sick or she traded shifts. I don't remember how that worked out. Or maybe she was off that day. And that happened. It's insane, right? Farrell's, man. They were on Undercover Boss. And they tried to relaunch. And it didn't go so well. But yeah, isn't that insane? Nuts, man. Really nuts. You can buy a bunch of Mums. Exactly right, Adam. Exactly right. Can I have a 6-pack of donuts? You can, but you will lose your 6-pack. Or you can add to your 6-pack depending on which one it is. Doesn't have to be a 6-pack of muscles, my man. Furious, your dad was there that day. I wonder if my mom knows your dad. That would be weird. Let's see. Oh, wow. Right. Yeah, it was crazy. What's up, Dan? Daniel S. Royal Pain 916.
Acknowledge me.
There is a link that I showed about the Farrell's plane crash on YouTube, and it's excellent. Are you pushing people to your channel? Did you create a video over that haunted horse? Interesting. But no, I remember going through one of the closets in the house, in my parents' house. And I think it's like styrofoam. I don't know. It's some weird material, but it's literally one of the Farrell's hats. It was probably hers from working there. But she, as the story as I remember it, and I'm sure the second I finish this show, I am going to get corrected. But as I remember it, she was supposed to be there that day. And somehow she was not. Crazy. Insane. Also insane. Plenty of stuff going on in the sports world. Nothing too crazy. What I was talking about at the start of the show, if you weren't able to hear us or you weren't able to get in on YouTube, I was talking about the NFL will now allow its players to participate in flag football in the Olympics. What's next in the Olympics? Are we going to get dodgeball? Are we going to get hacky sack? It's just, where do you stop it? In flag football, is it really that big of a thing? In fact, if we're being honest about it, flag football is not even that big here in America. Now it's becoming bigger because there's a larger push to get kids away from contact football at earlier ages, which I think I'm okay with. I started playing football my 4th grade year, and that was probably the right time for me. But as I've grown up and I've gotten older, I've had friends where I go to their kids' games. They're called Mighty Mites. These kids can't even hold the helmet up because their necks aren't strong enough. They look like bobbleheads out there. So that's probably a little bit too young. And I am okay with trying to get another route of football into the mainstream to where kids can learn the fundamentals. And then when their bodies are a little bit more ready, like maybe middle school, then you get into the pads and you kind of got some fundamentals other than hitting down But yeah, breakdancing, that was a fail. It's just like, come on. But one of the bigger things going on about the NFL owners meetings is they are thinking about making some rule changes. In fact, changing to the seeding in the playoffs. I found this pretty interesting. This was earlier today. Dan Graziano on ESPN.
It'll be interesting to see if they put it to a vote this week. Historically, Randy, owners have resisted this kind of change because they really like the idea that winning your division guarantees you a home playoff game. But there is some sentiment that if you made a change like this, it might increase the competitive level of the late season games. If you think back to last year, week 18, really were only 1 or 2 games that mattered. A lot of teams rested their starters. If this format were to happen, the Los Angeles Rams, who were locked into their seed heading into Week 18 last year, they may have had some incentive to play their guys and make more of an effort to win the game. And then you have more games that you can feel good about putting on TV in Week 18. So it's worth paying attention to, because as the league has expanded to a 17-game regular season and ponders the idea of an 18-game regular season, finding ways to make those late season games more important, to incentivize winning in those late season games, is going to be something you see NFL owners pay very close attention to.
What else, Dan, in addition to the playoff potential reseeding, what else is at the center of the talks this week?
Well, if you remember back in March at the owners' meetings, they tabled a vote on the tush-push. There's a proposal to ban the Eagles' tush-push play. They wanted to reword the proposal and come back to it in May. So we'll see how much rewording has been done and whether that's enough to sway voters in terms of wanting this play out of the game. There's talk about some tweaks to the kickoff rule after 1 year, 1 year following the radical change they made there. And then there's a proposal where they would allow NFL players to participate in flag football in the 2028 Olympics, to be 1 per team, plus the international player on each team could play for his country. So that's something that could get voted on this week as well, the potential for seeing NFL players in the Olympics in Los Angeles 3 years from now.
That would be amazing. Those NFL meetings.
That would not be amazing. I'm sorry, Sports Center host. I do not need to see NFLers in flag football. It would be like adults playing with kids. It would be the SNL skit with Peyton Manning just tagging third graders in the back with footballs. It makes no sense to me. So Peter hopping in, Rhino wasn't talking about the A's players like Brent Booker, Tyler. Okay, look at you. Nor that the A's might be a starting pitcher from being a playoff team. No, I was saying, can you imagine the playoffs in West Sacramento? That to me, just, you saw the video of Zach Campbell yesterday. People were leaving in the extra innings. And this whole thing with MLB, while we're at it, the fact that all of the sudden, Rob Manfred lifts the ban on Pete Rose after he dies. What kind of precedent is MLB setting here? I'm so confused. What is so different about putting him in while he is living versus putting him in when he's dead? He's going to be honored the exact same. Now, he's going to have to get in through, I believe, the Veterans Committee. They do not meet again until 2027. Shoeless Joe Jackson also going to be available. It was a lifetime ban. They are dead. A lifetime, okay. I guess if you want to play fanatic, but he kind of probably, you don't think Pete Rose knew that was coming? You know, because those discussions were getting more frequent. He met with the commissioner, and you thought he was going to probably get reinstated during his lifetime. But what's that do for the steroid guys? Does that mean Barry Bonds is going to be assured that he's going to get in? Once he passes away, Mark McGwire, once he passes away, the Hall of Fame is just that, a Hall of Fame. It's about the history of your game. At the very least, the way that I see it, just make a separate wing acknowledging that time in the game. Why not? Who does it hurt? I understand that Pete Rose would probably need his own wing. So that doesn't make sense. But in regards to the steroids, guys, it just makes it makes baseball to me look weak. So weak. And Peter, you hit the nail on the head. It's exactly what baseball's going to say. It's 100%. It was a lifetime ban. It's probably what baseball said. SI put an article about it. This is when we were not on the air. And I know Pete didn't always apologize genuinely. He was making a lot of money doing appearances. But 8 months after the death of Rose, the path for Rose to enter the Hall of Fame will open for the first time since it was blocked 34 years ago. Rose, all-time leader in hits, 4,256 in 1989, accepted an agreement with Commissioner Bart Giamatti to be placed on the ineligible list after the commissioner's office spent months investigating his betting on baseball. Manfred's decision now permits Rose to gain the same chance at the Hall of Fame once afforded to Joe Jackson, the outfielder barred as part of the 1919 Black Sox scandal. While on the ineligible list, Jackson was considered on Hall ballots in 1936 and 1946, but received minimal support. Manfred decided that Rule 21 was meant to keep people away from baseball who are considered a threat to the integrity of the game and to be a deterrent. I think this is more about the temperature changing in sports around gambling than anything else. I just think baseball shows very little backbone here. If you knew you were going to eventually give him an avenue to get in, don't make him wait until he's dead. Like, I just don't like that. I'm sorry. I might be in the minority. Or if you're going to do that, announce that ahead of time. It just looks slimy. Just saying. To me, it looks slimy. NBA, first team, second team, rookies. Rookies came out. Look at that. Sacramento's Jalen Wells, first team. Love that. The Kings better hope they can find a Jalen Wells in the second round of the draft this year. Here are some of the others that received votes. These voters, man, the NBA is starting to drag this stuff out way too long. Like baseball drags it out too long, announcing their postseason or their regular season awards. This is becoming too big of a thing. Like, it will just announce that SGA is the MVP. Just do it. We're just now coming out with the first team and second team, all rookie teams. So there you go. Jalen Wells on there. That was the one that I was definitely looking for. Happy for him. Hopefully his recovery is going well. That was a very, very scary fall. We're getting some more Zach Campbell reactions. Zach Campbell is someone I love to hate. Watch his videos just because he's such a hardcore ball hawk / hog. Okay, but what is it that you hate about Zach Campbell? You can't hate that he's giving balls away to the kids. He only keeps a ball. He keeps one ball, I believe, from each game. And he'll keep it if he caught it, like if it was a home run in the game and he catches it. That stays with him. The rest of the time, he's giving them away. Now, there definitely is an aura, a stink, a fog of douchery that follows him when you see him running around with children and putting his mitt in front of theirs. But isn't it just, are you jealous because he loves baseball that much that he gets to travel around and do all these things? He's done a lot for charity. Look, Zach Campbell could be putting his energy in much worse places, but I get it. I understand it. I do think it's kind of funny in his videos when people are coming up and asking him for autographs, and that's kind of weird. But, he's polarizing. Nothing else. He's polarizing. They've been putting players in that don't cut the mustard as Hall of Fame players, and they are not. Look, baseball, it's like the CBA. I don't understand it. I need somebody that specializes in it to or to kind of translate it to me. Like, many of their things does not make sense what they're doing for the game. But they won't put Barry in. Crazy, huh? Manuel in the house. What's up, dude? How you doing?
Acknowledge me.
Just joining us, Jerry Reynolds going to be here at 4 o'clock. Speaking of baseball, Juan Soto took some for not hustling. Not the first time that's happened.
The Mets lost yesterday, and this is the moment that's getting all the attention in the world. That's Juan Soto admiring with the rest of us the shot he hit off the Green Monster in left field. He turned that into a single. It's the second straight night his hustle came into question. Here was his manager after the game.
He thought he had it, with the wind and all that. And in this ballpark, or anywhere, but in particular in this one, with that wall right there, you got to get out of the box. So, we'll discuss that.
Last couple of nights, you've had a couple of plays where you were slow getting out of the box. Is that something you have to be more aware of?
No, I think being hustling very hard. If you see it today, you can tell.
It's a great point, Daniel. It's an excellent point. That's what brought baseball back on the map. People were not attending games because of the lockout. People were put off by that. So how do you reinvigorate the fan base? And how do you get new young people to start watching the game? I can tell you, I was a casual baseball fan. I was would have been my high school years when they had the famous home run race summer with Sammy Sosa. And for the life of me, I never understood why we always got Cubs games on WGN during the summer, but you got to see Sammy Sosa. And man, has Sammy Sosa changed. Have you seen the way that he looks now? You wouldn't even recognize him, but that got us all into it. You're watching to see what McGuire was going to do. And obviously he had been an A, so you had a little bit of a skin, or you had some skin in the game there. Barry Bonds right up 80. That was baseball turning their heads. And the fact that they literally just focus on these hitters, right? Because that's what is sexy about baseball. It's hitting the baseball. It's hitting it far. But you don't focus on anybody else that might have been on roids too, like the pitchers. How many of those pitchers were probably using something? Can we name like 3 or 4 pitchers that you think about? Oh, they're not going to be in the hall because they used. You just need to have a separate acknowledgement about that time period. It was what it was. And quite frankly, some of it was not illegal at the time. Now, when you get into taking the horse roids and, the stuff that Bernice from Dodgeball was taking, she's playing for the Girl Scouts team, then, okay, I'm with you. That's a little too much. But the other stuff that baseball was not testing for yet it was not banned, how are you going to hold that against somebody? Isn't that the whole thing in sports? It's trying, and I am not advocating cheating. I'm not advocating for using illegal substances, but the idea of sports is trying to get an edge on your opponent. And if it's within the rules, it's kind of this tush-push thing. It takes you years off your life if you're running it. or defending it. But hey, there's nothing that says it's not legal. It's trying to find that next competitive edge. This just so happened to be what brought a sport back to life. Think about I always call him Baroid because of Jim Rome, but think about Barry. What was the guy's name from Balco that refused to talk and he took the prison time because he wouldn't talk? It just runs so deep. And to be quite honest, to try to act like that didn't happen, I feel is completely disingenuous to the game of baseball because it's an important part. Whether for good or bad, it's an important part of baseball's history. Is it not? Hypocritical? I'm with you. Daniel, Barry's not banned. Totally different. And Ortiz in the hall despite steroid use. Yeah, Big Poppy. Good point. We're getting some emojis. For me, when he runs over people for balls, plus the DB element. Yes, I know, not jealous. I like him enough overall. I wouldn't want to hang out with him, though. Oh my gosh. Like if we were making a list, seriously, if you were making a list of the people that you would not want to see a baseball game with, Zach Campbell is probably very near the top of the list. I'm with you there. Like, I don't need him reaching over me for a baseball. I don't need the looks from the fans because he's only putting out the positive stuff. Like, I can imagine the hate that guy gets when he goes to a ballpark. He probably gets a fair amount of hate. Let's see. Steroid users not allowed in the Hall of Fame. Well, make a different area of the Hall of Fame. I don't know what you did. Just do something to acknowledge that period. I can't stand Jim Gray. I think Jim Gray is awful. Yeah, that was garbage. That was a garbage moment. Jim Gray is one of those guys that I see him, I turn the TV off. Cannot stand him whatsoever. Lifetime ban for the Writers Association. We should ask Jerry about this. I would love to get Jerry's thoughts on that. Shammy, Shosha, Harry Carey. Oh my gosh. Harry Carey, man. Legend. Harry Carey. And then Will Ferrell, Nolan Ryan, beef, sold here in Dallas. Really? Nolan Ryan beef is sold there in Dallas? Yeah, Jim Gray's timing and the timing of what he asks, the way he asks questions, he just comes off, and this is my personal opinion. He has had a very, very good career, incredible career in broadcasting. But Jim Gray comes off as like the whole, and we're referencing dodgeball a ton today, is the whole, we're better than you, and we know it. Like, there's this arrogance about him. And I'm like, what are you so arrogant about? You're a sideline reporter, my man. Nolan Ryan has a ranch, Kroger brand. Okay. Maybe Brett Favre should come up with hot dogs. How about that, Adam? That'd be a good one. Brett's back in the news. We could talk about him as well. We got Jerry, though, joining us here in about 15 minutes. If you have any questions for Jerry, make sure that you get them into the chat. We will ask him. I want to talk to him again about rebalancing this roster and getting guys back into position. I think that is important. We've talked at length about the point guard position, how that's going to be important. And I really want to get an idea of, like, on a scale from 1 to 10, where he rates the Kings situation right now in terms of managing it. And what's a realistic timeline to get this thing worked out? Man, it's going to be a little bit of Jen Sturger, soft farves. Yeah. You know, Haunted Horse, you didn't have to go all the way with that, Haunted Horse.
It's a complete crap.
And why do you know her name, Haunted Horse? course, if Adam's telling you you have a strike, then you probably have a problem. NBA again back tonight. How you matching up this OKC series with Minnesota? What are your thoughts on it? I don't know really how to match this one up. I've been looking at some of the numbers throughout the NBA playoffs. What we're looking at here, let me get over to the other screen. What we're looking at here is the playoff teams and their net ratings this offseason or postseason, excuse me. And it's, I got to redo this because we launched the show again. My bad. Let's get this back up and going. Okay, so what we're looking at is the net ratings for teams this postseason. No surprise, Oklahoma City, who had the highest net rating in the history of the NBA in the regular season, they're at a 12.9 in the postseason, and they've got a little bit of pushback. They had a tough series with the Nuggets. Now, the Nuggets were dealing with a ton of injuries, but I kind of worry about OKC. And as deep as they are on paper, I don't think they're deep with playmakers. So you've got to have SGA rolling, and I mean really rolling. And I think you have an opportunity to do that with this Minnesota team. The wild card for me in this Minnesota game or this series is going to be, what are you going to get from Mike Conley? I know it sounds funny, but the Timberwolves really struggle when Mike Conley is not distributing the ball, when he is not a threat, getting into those gaps, playing that point guard role. So I'm looking at him in this series, but I'm also looking at Minnesota. Would you be surprised if I told you they have the third highest net rating in the playoffs right now? Because they do, 7.1. So you are getting the two best teams per net rating in the Western Conference. They're there. The NBA is licking their chops at the thought of a Minnesota and New York Knicks series because of the trade that happened in the offseason right before training camp. So New York, they've got a whole nother set of things to deal with Indiana and Tyrese Halliburton. But how do you see this series going? Do you feel like the Thunder have gotten their feet under them now? A lot of people like Minnesota in this series. I just don't know if I see it. I don't know if I see it. So give me your takes on that. We'll talk to Jerry about that series as well. Baseball, by the way, last thing we're going to mention about that, they are implementing now a replay system for check swings. It's the same system that they have been testing in minor leagues or in the minor leagues. So you can challenge one check swing per game if you are a manager, and it's that same tracker technology that you commonly see with tennis and some other sports. So that will be something to see. Some other things that I kind of pulled up that I was going to show. I wanted to replay this. We visited it right after the season, but Bobby Marks, he really hits the nail on the head and paints a good picture at what the Kings are looking at this offseason. Here's what Bobby had to say about a month ago. We're frozen, y'all. I'm trying to get the audio going. We are frozen. You know what that means. My bad.
There's a bucket of
We're frozen. Let me give you the disclaimer.
Dong, dong, dong. Yeah.
We are frozen. You're going to have to deal with the screen until it unfreezes. I am sorry. Unbelievable. I can't do anything. Look at this beautiful like kind of not cartoonish, but like comic book version of downtown Sacramento. Yes, he does say Kings fans deserve better. Damn Vivek. Man, this has been a rough show. Between the system now freezing up, trying to get it back, y'all. Give me back my show. Here is, if you are new to the show, this is the audio that plays when the system freezes.
Dong, dong, dong. Yeah.
And we are back. My goodness. What is going on? It's unreal. Holy crap. It's a complete crap, man.
It's a complete crap.
We are working on a few things to get this thing back on track with the system. Dan Vivek, yeah. Bobby was just talking about that you deserve better. You're stuck in a corner now. And what we talked about yesterday is really the centerpiece to me of the discussion is DeMar DeRozan. What is the market going to look like for him? I think that's the most logical piece. I know my boy Will Zimmerly put out an article talking about a Malik Monk trade, not saying that anything is being proposed, but how that could possibly benefit the Kings. I'm not completely on board with that line of thinking. You would definitely need a lot of development from some other areas on this roster before I'm thinking about trading Malik Monk. Flores was right there. Yeah, man, I am rusty. I need Jerry to pick me up. Ryan just crashed his show. Man, he makes some good points. Too bad we can't hear them. Well done, Justin.
Yeah!
Well done. He's saying unmute me, Ryan. Yes, I know. Is there really a class for lip reading? You know what's funny? Have you seen those, and we're not talking politics, but have you seen those review videos where people that are professional lip readers and body language interpreters will interpret interactions between public figures, political figures? Really interesting stuff there. Thank you for letting me know. We are muted. Yes, I know. The show crashed. I swear, ever since I put that picture of Vivek Ranadive dancing on this software, we have had problems. Big problems. Yeah, thought it might be on your mind because you watched it. Sturger. Yeah. All right. Well, Jerry Reynolds set to join us here in just a few minutes. I haven't seen any questions for Jerry. Where are the questions for Jerry Reynolds? You got a chance to talk to Kings legend. Get them in there. Weak market. It is a weak market. I agree. If you're under 30, you don't know that sound. Yeah, that's true. How many of us got yelled at for tying up our parents' phone lines because you're on AOL Messenger? Man, you know the cool thing back in the day was to have your own phone line. Anybody have their own phone line in their room? Jerry. Yeah, he's coming up any minute. But yeah, having your own phone line in your room was huge. You didn't have to go through the process of, can I please talk to? And then your parents know who's calling and you get the talk afterwards. I mean, come on. All right, we got some. Yeah, can Jerry help with the technical issues? Yeah, he might be able to help with the technical issues. He has no problem getting on this show, but apparently I have a problem getting on this show. NBA, it is down to the final four. You start with the West Finals tonight. You got the East Finals kicking off tomorrow night. As we said, by net rating, you have the two best teams in the West facing off in the Western Conference Finals. Nobody better to talk to about hoops and everything else than Jerry Reynolds. Happy Tuesday, buddy. How are you?
It is a happy Tuesday, and I'm doing good, and hope everybody out there is doing great. Obviously looking forward to the finals here in the West and the East, and obviously appears the four best teams are in it, and so we'll get a different champion, but certainly a good one, however it plays out.
We will, and I was talking about it by net rating. You have the two best teams in the West. I was surprised that Minnesota's net rating was 7.1. They feel like they haven't been playing that consistent, Jared.
They did start rough, and I think, the trade, Dante DiVincenzo, and of course, especially Julius Randle, they struggled out of the gate a little bit, but then down the stretch, especially Randle was just terrific and has been in the playoffs. And, we talked about this last summer some. At the time the trade was made, I said, I think it's a trade that will help both teams. And that's exactly what's happened. I mean, the Timberwolves record isn't as good, but they're a better team right now. And it took a little while for it to fit, and credit to Coach Fitch and his staff. But and then, of course, New York, clearly Cat has given another weapon that they didn't have. So there's that. I do think, in all honesty, if New York hadn't lost Hartenstein, I think they would be a real serious championship contender. Not that they're not, but they really couldn't pay him. So that's where
and Oklahoma City was just waiting in the wings for him. He was that perfect pickup to match with Chet.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Oklahoma City just simply does everything right, to where, they always seem to have cap room. They always seem to have a lot of extra picks. When they trade, the trades almost always seem to work out well. I mean, and they draft well, they trade well, they acquire free agents well. I think there's probably a clue there somewhere.
Yeah, Sam Presti knows what the heck he's doing. That's the clue.
That is the clue.
Hey, I want to take you a separate direction because I was off a lot of last week, and I'm kind of going over some stuff that happened when I was off. And one of those things was baseball coming out and announcing that Pete Rose could be eligible for the Hall of Fame now that he's passed away. And it's kind of turned into a bigger conversation about the steroid era and those guys being left out of the Hall of Fame. Jerry, how do you view baseball's handling of now allowing Pete Rose and what's going on with the steroid guys? Should they be in the Hall? If so, should it be a separate wing? What's your thoughts?
Well, I've always been a little bit maybe outspoken on this, but I think they should all be in there. It's a baseball Hall of Fame, representing the best baseball players to ever play. And I mean, and Barry Bonds is one of the greatest to ever play. Pete Rose, certainly one of the greatest to ever play. I mean, they had some low lifes from back in the early 1900s that are in the Hall of Fame for various things, but they were great players. And I always say shoeless Joe Jackson, there was no reason for him not to be in it. They said he took money, but he didn't throw any games. I think he hit about 370 in the series or something. So, anyway, I'm in favor of it. Now, I would put a caveat to it. In other words, I think whether it's steroid guys or Pete Rose and his gambling, whatever, on the plaque, in addition to their stats, which clearly ranks them, these guys should be in there, whether it's Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Roger Clemens, they're among the all-time greats. But just say they were suspected of using, steroids, physical enhancing drugs at the time, and go into the suspensions and whatever. And with Pete Rose the same, but and let the fans decide. But for a Hall of Fame not to have the all-time home run leader and the all-time hit leader, I just think they ought to be in there, and then you can decide if where they rank in your own mind. That's just my feelings.
If I'm reading a story about baseball during my lifetime, you can't properly write the story of baseball without including that era. It's been so important to baseball.
Yeah, it has, and I think what sometimes we forget is in early cases there wasn't even a rule against using steroids. It's like, guys used them, and then to me, the more important part is we don't know how many guys used them and didn't get caught. So it's kind of like back in the middle 1900s, guys using greenies and different kind of things to help enhance and pick them up a little bit. I don't know how much different it is in today's game to where they have better medical condition or medical treatment and give guys help that's legal, but it's still help. And I just think it's a case where baseball themselves, they're responsible as much as anything. And then, we get into the old, well, they were cheating. Oh, was a spitball cheating? Well, you got spitball pitchers in the Hall of Fame. Now you're not allowed to, basically wet the ball or put legally you're not.
That's right.
But, so anyway, I just think if the Hall of Fame get the best players in there, and then, if it offends you that guy's in there, don't look at his plaque. Just close your eyes and walk past.
Just choose to go a different way. I agree with you 100%. Not to put you on the spot, but now I am curious because you brought up greenies. Back in your time coaching and being around the league, was there, and we've heard Charles Barkley stories about playing hungover, playing after having a couple of drinks. Is there anything weird NBA guys would use to get up in the locker rooms?
Honestly, I maybe it's my naivete, but guys drank a lot of beer. There are more beer drinkers than as things went, and I think some use of marijuana, which is obviously a lot more prevalent today everywhere. So it's like anything. I think abuse. It's not drinking a beer or two that's a problem. It's drinking too many, which I'm living proof of that. I know that has a bad. I drank way too many too often, and I'm glad I don't anymore. But that would be it. And most players, I never really saw it as a real problem, other than, like you say, occasionally a guy'd be maybe a little hungover, but. I always say one thing about beer drinkers, they never lose their competitiveness. I think sometimes with some of the pot smokers, sometimes they might be a little
chilled out. Yeah.
A little chilled out. So I'll take
for sure. I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation as maybe 30 years from now, when you look back over the late 90s into the mid 2010, 15s, and how there was so much anti-cannabis and marijuana. And now there's all these studies coming out that it can be effective for certain people, yet there were so many painkillers and things like that being prescribed that have shown to be an epidemic and much more harmful being thrown at players to be on the court. It seems like one of those things we're going to look back differently and see.
Well, I think so, because a lot of the pain pills that are prescribed or were prescribed led to really serious drug use. I've had friends that way that were in car wrecks and under really getting OxyContin and things like that, and led to other things. Now, some people can handle it better than others, but as we go, so many things that that's why I'm probably a little more amenable to a lot of things. Is just growing up when I did, as an athlete, you weren't supposed to drink water. They'd say, well, it'll bloat you, so just gargle it in, spit it out. Just wet your mouth. I mean, now how
Yeah,
stupid was
crazy.
that? But I mean, there's probably decades of that, and of course, we know that back in the early the 50s with Cousy and those guys, Tommy Heinsohn was a chain smoker. They'd go in at halftime and and smoke. But I mean, doctors smoke. They recommended smoking.
Yeah, that's right. They would be in military packs that they would send over for the troops with their food, get a couple cigarettes. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, well, I think they have made other things even available to the military.
They deserve whatever they need.
That's the way I looked at it. Whatever helps you get through the day.
100%. I know that you don't have any problem smoking cigarettes after that first experience.
No. Claude Bird taught me well. I mentioned that to Larry a little bit, but yeah, he rolled one for me and said, "Okay, boy, smoke it all." And I did. That took care of it for me, man. I was a sick puppy the rest of the day.
Found a comfortable place to lay down in the woods.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say my job is raking bunkers or sand traps and stuff. I mean, and mowing bunkers, and so I just take my mower and rake and just push it in the woods and lay down. Hope nobody hit a hook over there. Found me.
I love it. Tristan has a question. Jerry, the Kings are ranked last in opponent 3-point percentage. Can Bobby help defend the three?
I think he can. He can't. It's one of those things. I'm not sure you can hurt. Yeah. But I think Bobby's had good. He's been on several staffs, not just Kings staff, of course, in Philly, but then was a head coach with the Stockton Kings, and so yeah, I have a lot of faith in Bobby, and I think one thing with Bobby, and I've seen him when he was assistant with Paul Westphal and different guys. I mean, he'll speak up. He's not. Bobby will let guys know, that certain things need to be done different. He has no problem with that, and which is, I think, very necessary for this team.
Indeed. Daniel asks, if you were the GM, which I don't think you would want to be at this time, would you want to rebuild or retool with this current roster?
I think that's a great question. I don't know that you can do either one. That's the problem. I don't know that there's a best way. I mean, if you could totally retool, but to do that, you really have to have assets to get exactly the caliber players you need to get, and I don't know if they do. And then of course, just to totally rebuild and tear it down there again. That's hard because you still have to trade guys, and you don't want players with contracts back, big contracts, or older players. And so now all of a sudden that gets tough because most teams really don't have cap room to take on contracts without giving you contracts back and players. So Scott Perry and BJ Armstrong, they really got a tough go. I think it's going to be tough. I think what we'll see is kind of and I don't know that it's the wrong way. I think maybe the only way is just sort of kind of go halfway in there. If you could, anything you could do to get younger, in my opinion, is the way to go. I mean, in other words, if you can trade guys that are older for guys that are younger with similar contract and better fits, that to me would be the better way to go, even if it takes you back a little bit talent wise. But I just think this team right now, compared to 2 years ago when it was 48 win team, it was a young 48 win team on the rise, and now it's a 40 win team that's older than average. So I think try to get younger. I mean, obviously you can't get a whole bunch of draft picks are going to change anything. So I just try to get younger if you can.
I have been saying, even during this past season, that this situation that the Kings have with the roster, this is high level basketball stuff, Jerry. If you brought a Sam Presti in, if you brought in a top level executive, this would be a very, very difficult situation. From 1 to 10, how hard of a situation do you think it is, with 10 being the hardest?
Well, I'd say it's at least
I'm
a
with
9. Because I mean, you have some talent. I mean, it's not bad, but it's talent that maybe contractually is basically paid more than the league would say they're worth, age wise, fit wise. I mean, probably really the only player that would probably have quite a bit of value on the market would be Domas, and it's limited not because of his talent, because of his fit. There's a lot of teams would like to have him, but they got centers, or they are locked into certain guys, and then there's a style of play you would need to play with him, and so that makes it tougher. And then I think, I read a lot of comments with fans with DeRozan, and I think obviously he's a guy that you would probably like to move and get assets if you could, and different things. But I think whoever trades for him, if in fact you can get a trade, it's going to be a team that's going to want to bring him in probably to be an off the bench scorer. I just think that not many teams are probably looking at him as a 35-minute guy anymore.
Do you think the Kings, because of the situation that they're in, will be asked to pay more or get squeezed a little bit more because they have so few realistic moves to make?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things that how this league is, that they smell a little weakness. It's they're vultures picking the bones if they can. I mean, that's right, and that's where which we talked about even with the Fox thing. It's like, if it's not a deal you want to do, don't do it. Your team may not fit very well, but you can't just make a bad deal to get rid of somebody type thing. I mean, patience is a virtue, and I think that's really called for. I think the only thing you can do is to make sure you're contacting, I mean, every team in the league as soon as they're available to be contacted. Find out who they like on your team and tell them who you like on their team. Put it out there. We're open for business.
No doubt. And you have BJ start contacting agents and saying, Sacramento, it's going to be different. We're looking to do this. You've got to get it out over every channel that you possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, it's because, obviously there's going to be some teams, good teams, that are, say, disappointed, say the Lakers in the West. I mean, they're, but any team that the Warriors, whatever teams maybe failed to do exactly what the ownership thought. Well, they're a little more, they have assets, and they also have a desire to change something minorly. And so that opens things up. And then every bad team, other than they assume whatever draft pick they make will make them 15 games better, which almost never happens. And so you can, and sometimes the guy they're going to draft, it opens up another guy on that roster who they need to move. So their next superstar will have a free spot.
Yeah, and speaking of Oklahoma City, they have Nikola Topic, who sat out this entire year. He was their first-round draft pick. He's supposed to be a heck of a point guard coming out of Serbia. So, and the 6th pick this year. So they're a team that I would be calling, Jerry, if they don't make it.
Oh, yeah. They've got so many, and they got so many picks. It'd be interesting to know what they might feel they want. Right now, I'd say they're not interested probably they don't have a want today. Now, maybe if Minnesota beats them, they will.
Right.
And so, same way with Minnesota. All of a sudden, now second year getting into the Western Finals and they can't get past Oklahoma City, then they might say, well, we're just not quite good enough. So we've got to do something different. So it may open up a guy, kind of like Denver. I mean, the rumors of Porter Jr. being available is probably true. And he's a good player now. And a lot of teams would like to get him, but then again, what does Denver want for him? Those sorts of things. But teams that are a little disappointing.
Got to fish them out. Yeah, you got to fish them out. So we've talked about some of the concerns and the negatives. Let's look at some of the positives. We've had many conversations about how maybe a true point guard changes this team. But here's something that hit me when I watched Steph Curry go down. You watch the Warriors have to play dramatically different. And I get Steph is one of the top greats of this game, and missing him is going to change you dramatically. But what it also did is it forced guys to play a little bit out of position and out of their roles. All of a sudden, Buddy Hield needs to do more on the scoring end, and you need more from Brandon Pajemski. And when I relate that back to the Kings, there's an argument, Jerry, that many of the Kings starters have been playing out of position the last 2 years. Is that something you're looking at if you're Doug Christie when you're evaluating this offseason?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I do. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. Yeah, if you had a really top quality point guard, I mean, let's put it this way. If you had a 28-year-old Chris Paul, last year you'd have won 50 games, regardless of the maybe misfit otherwise. But you just would have. He was that good, but they don't have that. And how do they get somebody like that? Well, I don't know that you can, but I do think they're in a spot to where just getting somebody who's a legitimate playmaker, it doesn't have to be a top 20 guy even, would really set, I think, as you point out, would probably settle the team down and make it fit better. And, you'd see Domas get more comfortable. The second half of the year, he just wasn't the same player he was the first. And, Keegan could maybe his talents could be utilized a little better. Zach LaVine is he's got potential to be a big time scorer, which we've seen, but maybe just be a little more efficient by getting the ball out of his hands, except when he's going to score it. So anyway, and I mean, for instance, I don't think he's the guy. There's a lot of flaws, but just a guy like Trae Young, who really can play make. I mean, he's a heck of a scorer, and people say, well, he can't play defense. Yeah, he's flawed, but you're not going to get Magic Johnson.
He ain't walking through that door.
He ain't walking through that door.
Lost Jerry there for a second. See, this system, man. We say Magic Johnson ain't walking through the door, and maybe he is.
No.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, phone. You still there?
Yeah,
I'm
gotcha.
here. Hello,
I got you.
Hello.
Gotcha, buddy. Can you hear me?
What happened?
Can you hear me? Test
Hello.
1, 2. I can hear you.
Something happened there. What went on there?
Well, we got Jerry unplugged.
I wonder if I need to.
Let's see if we can get him to. I'm going to take him down and send a message to him really quick. We were just getting to the good part of the conversation. Let's see if we can get Jerry back.
Okay, let's do. Yeah, okay.
There we go. He's going to log off and log back in. So talking about a Trae Young, definitely a playmaker. And that's a name that many of you have not necessarily liked, but I get where Jerry's going with that. I think the front line, too, I want to get his take on that. And we've talked about the JV Sabonis pairings. We have talked about Keegan Murray closer to being a 3 than a 4. how Doug Christie begins to look at some of that stuff. Let's see if we've got Jerry back. Jerry, you can hear me?
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
know.
cool.
That's technology. It's scary.
You know what? We have had issues with the system all day today, so I will take responsibility for that. That
Good.
one's on me, buddy.
Good. I'll give it to you.
I'll take it on the chin. So yeah, you were talking about Trae Young and Magic's not walking through that door, but just having somebody that's serviceable that can put guys back to their natural spots and play the roles that they're used to. Because you're wasting a Zach LaVine if you're asking him to bring the basketball up the court.
Yeah, I just think if you could just find somebody that you think is a legitimate 30-35 minute guy, that the either one of the Jones brothers, I think, are competent point guards that probably given more time would find a way to be productive. They are playmakers first. A guy I've gotten to really like a lot is Scottie Pippen Jr. from Memphis. He's gotten a lot of playing time because John Morant's always hurt or into some sort of disciplinary trouble, and he's been very productive. And it seems like each year he's getting better, and so that might be the kind of move you need to make. Try to get a guy you think, well, he's getting better, and if he just makes one more little jump, you probably got a top 15 starter.
If you're Scott Perry, I think those are the players that you have to look for. The ones that you're kind of betting on the upside, that they're going to turn into that player, kind of as we've watched Davion Mitchell progress through the multiple teams. I think you've got to get a little bit bold because of what you have to work with.
Oh, exactly. And then there's guys that may be coming off injury that might be available since they weren't, like a Jaden Ivey for Detroit. Well, it's clearly Cade Cunningham's team, but he is in the past has shown he could play some point and certainly in college and all that. So a little bit of a De'Aaron Fox type player, quite honestly. You're looking for guys that, for one reason or another, it's about the talent, but also the availability.
Thumper asks, Jerry, do you think the Kings would possibly pursue Ja Morant?
That's a great question. His talent, I think he needs to be somewhere else, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think the biggest concern, I think, with him, if Kings had him, is really not, I guess I just worry about his injuries. He's such a spectacular athlete and he's always in the physical traffic around the basket. And, and it's led to injuries. And I just worry because I always think back to Derrick Rose, how great he was. But the injuries, you can't go flying in there all the time because sometimes you bounce off that hardwood and there's injuries that come from that. And there's a, I think that he might, if I'm Memphis, I think I'd probably be looking to see what I could get. I think there's some guys interesting. I don't see what you guys think of the fans, but Jose Alvarado for New Orleans.
Love him.
That guy is a little bulldog, and he hadn't, they don't start him, but I think he'd be, I think he could really help the Kings.
He's a little Energizer bunny. If you want to play at a pace, he's going to do it. And he brings the pressure, something you talked about all season. The Kings have the players to pressure. They just rarely do it unless they have to.
Yeah, that's the thing about Alvarado. He'll do it whether you want him to or not.
Yeah, exactly right.
He's out there picking up the ball and turning guys and all. But anyway, that's another name now. I'm sure they like him a lot, but they're a team that's in total disarray at the moment. So they might be looking for something different. So, that's kind of what you have to do. But I think as much as anything, to get out of the spot they're in, the Kings really need to hit on. It's not like you're going to be able to trade for Jason Tatum or
no.
But so you really got to look for those guys that or at least you have your own opinion is they're going to get better and they'd be the right fit. And sometimes, it's like the the real good teams have done. You know, you look at Boston getting Derek White. Well, he was in San Antonio. Nobody, certainly Spurs didn't even know what
Yeah.
they had. And he's, just continued to get better. One of those guys, kind of an undrafted guy or late pick, and just found a way to get better and better.
He's the perfect example of why building a basketball team, and you and I have had this conversation, it's like building a puzzle. He was part of the Olympic team for a reason. He's one of those glue guys that ties things together, and you know what you're getting, like you said. And it just feels like the Kings are missing one of those guys.
Oh yeah, I think it's close. You know, I mean, I think that's the thing is you've got some legitimate talent, but it hasn't fit particularly well, and it needs to. And we're in the West, and one player, just like I said, a point guard or maybe a big lively wing.
Yep.
All of a sudden, now you can do more things defensively. You can play at a better pace. So yeah, it's not it's not brain surgery. It's just getting the right. It is a team game. You got to have star quality players to win consistently. That's for sure. But it's got to fit as well. It's got to fit. And it's like the Oklahoma City. They got the best record, 68 wins, and they've drafted well. But the trade that they got Gilgeous Alexander for Paul George, that was the difference maker as far as pushing them to competitive circumstances. Now, the other stuff has made them a championship contender.
And a place that guys want to go. A
Yes.
place that guys want to play. There's not much in Oklahoma City, Jerry, but it's a heck of a fan base and an awesome system.
Yeah, very much like Sacramento. I mean, really, there's no other major league teams. Of course, I guess got the A's now, although they don't count Sacramento. They think they're Las Vegas. But anyway, yeah, it's an interesting. It really is an interesting town. I mean, their downtown makes Sacramento look like Manhattan.
It's so true.
Oh, there's nobody lives there. That people go down there to work, and then by 5 o'clock, you could be murdered on the street. Nobody find your body till Monday.
Yeah. I've been there. It is kind of like that, but they've got a great fan base.
They do, yeah, and they, the atmosphere in the arena. It's a lot like the old Arco. It's been refurbished a few times where it's nicer, but they've taken care of it. But yeah, it's they deserve a great team. They've done everything right.
Yep, indeed. In fact, let's talk about that series a little bit. How do you see this one playing out? Do you think it's going to be the Thunder, or you think it's going to be the Timberwolves?
I think it's going to be the Thunder. I just think defensively they're better, and they're a little deeper. So and the home court. So, and we know home court isn't always what we think it's going to be, but I do think that's an advantage. I think the biggest problem OKC has is they're coming into this series tired, probably, because they had a tough go with Denver, where really the T-Wolves, with Curry hurt, that was kind of a walkthrough at that point. But anyway, I like Oklahoma City. I do. I really think they might be the best team in the league.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Oklahoma City. I think Mike Conley is going to kind of be that wild card. Is he going to be able to initiate enough of the offense from Minnesota? Because they can get dribble heavy with Julius Randle, Anthony Edwards at times. But Lou Dort, excellent defender, definitely going to be top 5, top 6 defender when it's all said and done by the end of the year. I think that's going to be a fun matchup to watch. But I just feel like it's such a different game coming off of Denver with the physicality, the matchups, stepping in with Minnesota. It's more of, guarding those two guys and then dealing with the rest. And I think they're set up to do that.
I do too. I mean, I think, Lou Dort, now he might be able to guard, Ant-Man well enough they don't have to double much.
Right.
And if that's the case, then it's going to be tough for the T-Wolves. Now I don't know, but he's a tough, he's a terrific defender, and Ant-Man, with his athleticism and physical strength, but he's not as strong as Dort, and Dort can be a pretty intimidating defender, I think. So that'll be an interesting matchup, I think, there. And then just have to kind of see how the rest of the matchups are. But I just think the depth of Oklahoma City's better. I mean, T-Wolves got good bench, but Oklahoma City's got a great one, much like Indiana's just got a great bench, I think. Uh-oh, lost you again. Hello. I don't know what's going on. Let's see what it goes. Hello. Nope. Well, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if anybody can hear me out there, but does Jerry eat Krispy Kreme donuts? No, I'm a diabetic boy. Be honest with you, I'd love to. I'd love to eat them. Let's see, Alvarado, Ryan froze. He did. I don't know. Jerry singing. Yeah, I did a commercial. I did a commercial once for Swift and Dodge where they were advertising the Shadow, and I had to sing a little song on the commercial. It was me and my shadow. And there's a Dodge Shadow. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, you don't get that kind of talent everywhere. So, well, okay, now you can hear me. I was going to say, I apologize. I don't know. Thanks, guys. Loud and clear. Sadly, I don't know what Ryan said. His internet went out. So, okay. Ryan? Yeah, I'm talking to the fans here. We're having a good time. I was singing a Dodge commercial from back in the old days, and so what are we going to do here? That's a better question. Okay. All right, see ya. Bye. I don't know what's going to happen here. I think we may be opening it up, but I have enjoyed it, and yes, the Dodge Shadow knows it really was a terrible car, but I had to make a buck. So what are you going to do? And probably that time actually, come think of it, I got for doing the commercials, I got my wife they'd lease a vehicle for her to use. So that was a good deal, made her happy, and it, no downside to having a happy wife. So let's see. Predicting the Pacers. Yeah, let's see here. Okay, the internet went out on my end. Okay. Well, I think probably it'd be best for me just to pack it in, and I'll be ready to try next week. I hope you guys will be here, and that I can prepared for much. But appreciate up with me and Ryan, and yeah, that's right. Happy wife, happy life. Do I like Carrington? I don't know enough about him to like him. I just really haven't said it enough. I got to be honest with you. They don't pay me to do stuff, so I don't really do much. Jerry, I used to live right by Sunrise, close to the mall. Well, I'm a Rosevillian, so not too far away. Anyway, All right. Well, I'm going to sign off, and
Jerry,
you all have a good day.
Jerry, you have
Oh, there he is.
outdone yourself.
Okay. So you're back,
For the
huh?
technical issue. Yeah, thank you for having me as a guest on your show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, maybe next week I'll give you a little bigger role, And
Okay.
so,
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Jared, thanks so much. Appreciate you. Everybody
Well,
out there, sorry for the tech issues. We'll get them fixed. Jared, you're the
Yeah.
best.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. And I'll
All right.
kind of find something in my life here. Okay. Take care.